Hello, everyone out in Sinoicus, ancient leadership world. This is Norman Sandridge coming to you from Howard University here on Thursday, November 10th. I'm so sorry I won't be able to join you guys this evening for the common session. I was originally planning a short piece on the correlation between a leader's beauty and the ways in which beauty is able to elicit eros, or passionate love, in the hearts of the followers, using Cyrus as our example, and the anecdote from the Paideia of Artabazus, the Median man who falls in love with Cyrus. But I figured, since we are in a brave new world now, a strange new world, it would be perhaps better to focus just for a moment on the outcome of the presidential election and what it means for our study of ancient leadership in this course, and hopefully what will continue to be your study of ancient leadership. And I want to just now for a moment give you a kind of a quick breakdown of three things that I think our study of ancient leadership does to prepare us for a Trump administration and everything that will entail. Like all of you, I'm sure I've been following the news very intently, trying to do everything I can to make sense of what is going on, what is likely to happen, how it happened, and so forth. And I've been heartened by a lot of people's responses and gestures of solidarity, attempts to understand what's going on. But I've also been struck by the ways in which the media have tried to contextualize this election in terms of the American experience. One of the downsides, unfortunately, of American exceptionalism, especially in the 21st century, is that we tend to think the only way to understand America now is by reference to America at some prior time. So, for example, it's like we live in our own self-contained cosmos, and so you hear media analysts and even American historians bringing in things like the presidency of Andrew Jackson and the spirit of populism that he rode in on, or how the election is so surprising because that it's like the Dewey beats Truman headline that we all learn about in high school American history class. Or there was another example I had today that really surprised me for its yeah, I know what it was. The idea that an electorate just swings back and forth like a pendulum, and anytime you have a president from one party in power for 8 years, there's a reaction to that, and it there's a need to bring in a new perspective, new ideology, and the term that was used in the NPR story I heard today was kind of as a corrective, as if what Donald Trump is ushering in is a corrective on the American politics of the last 8 years. I happen to find all of these analogies kind of woefully inadequate, and here is where I think trying to get outside of the American cosmos and the notion of American exceptionalism and bringing in perspectives from other countries around the world today, and certainly perspectives from the ancient world, can be very, very valuable to us and very, very necessary. I think our minds are growing narrower by the day in terms of how we contextualize what's going on. And so, as I say, I just wanted to give kind of a three-point breakdown of ways, at least the important ways. There are more ways for sure that studying the ancient world and ancient leadership can be valuable for us and guide us going forward. The first thing I would say is a course like the one we're experiencing now has given us so many perspectives and tools, methods, disciplines for understanding what a leader does, whether we look at the ways leaders promote themselves, their images, their material culture, the rhetoric that they use, the stories that they tell, the ideologies that they espouse. But even to go back to the very first module on the quarrel between Agamemnon and Achilles in the Iliad. If you go back and look at those 21 problems that we identified in the early lines of the Iliad, and think about how those are still problems, and that they will be enormous challenges for a Donald Trump presidency to overcome. And you could almost look at each and every one and ask yourself, how is he going to overcome these? What are the challenges that he's going to face? Things like, how is he going to handle a rival? How is he going to handle dissent and disagreement, when inevitably people are going to criticize his policies and moves? How is he going to get information? To more information, then will he seek that information? Will he surround himself with knowledgeable people, with sensible advisors, or instead, will he sort of pick favorites, pick people that are loyal to him, but who don't necessarily know how to? They don't know the truth, or they're not interested in the truth, and they don't know how to present the truth to him. How will Donald Trump manage his emotions? Will he dehumanize others the way he has dehumanized them on the campaign trail? And what are the forms that dehumanization will take? And as I say, these are all questions that we come back to at the very beginning of our study of ancient leadership when we read the Iliad. So you, better than much of the American populace right now, are in a position to offer critiques and questions of a new leader. The second thing I would say, as we're being critical and thoughtful and inquisitive about our new president, we can also think in terms of the models of good leadership that we've seen in this course so far, whether it's Cicero or Pericles or Cleopatra, or our leaders for this week, Cyrus and Cassius Dio and Plutarch and so forth. Not to say that any of these leaders are ideal leaders, but they're working toward the good. They're thinking about good leadership. They're trying to embody good leadership. And so, as we talk as a people about alternatives to the leadership that we're seeing now, we can take heart that there are dozens upon dozens of examples of good leadership that is clearly illustrated, dramatically illustrated in very moving ways, and we can bring these into the conversation whenever we're trying to craft a new model of leadership. That whole conversation of what is a good leader, I think, has been largely missing from this presidential debate, and it's largely missing from American conversations in general. Like we spend time critiquing individual leaders, but we don't necessarily step back and just reflect on, what kind of leadership is needed here, what kind of leadership is possible, and can we build it? Can we find it? Can we celebrate it? Things like that is looking ahead to the future. It will probably come as no surprise to you that those of us who designed this course, who built the modules, who worked so hard to create an amazing course experience, we did not anticipate a Trump president. And so we spent a lot of, we thought this was going to be pave the way for discussions of what it would mean to have a female president and so forth, but no one was really anticipating a Trump presidency. And as a result, we did not spend a lot of time thinking of ways to teach you about tyrannical leadership driven by their passions, who are emotionally unhinged, who are grasping for power, who are demagogic in their nature. But the wonderful thing is that many authors in the ancient world, both Greek and Roman, were very much interested in tyrannical leadership, dictatorial leadership, and spent tons of time profiling these leaders, thinking about them, thinking about how to stop them, how to engage with them, all of these things. And works like Plato's Republic immediately come to mind as a starting point for understanding tyrannical the tyrannical psychology and tyrannical behavior. And I can assure, I would encourage you to check out these works, and we could even build a bibliography about that for those who are interested. But I can also assure you that in perhaps all future iterations of this course, we will think very hard about how to include conversations about this, because the material is abundant. And I think the American founders were certainly very sensitive to tyranny and tyrannical behavior. But in America, perhaps for good reason, like we've kind of grown somewhat complacent, and we never sort of imagined that someone like that could assume the presidency. We sort of believed in the democratic system. We believed in checks and balances and so forth. And I think it's now time for us to take these things much more seriously. So all to say, I'm speaking to you in obviously still a shocked and somber tone, but I hope it's a hopeful one and an uplifting one, that I think we're all on the right path here. It's going to be a bumpy ride for sure, one of a lot of anxiety and many things we probably couldn't even anticipate, but we're doing our best. And I want to say, how proud I am and grateful I am to be working with you in all of this on this project. And again, I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I wish you all the best, and I look forward to catching the common session on a rerun. I know it's going to be awesome. And as always, rock on.